Are you struggling to find a good build for your champions and the Hell Hades tool? Well, look no farther. We're going to dive into the Hell Hades tool to learn all the ins and outs on how to build champions for Arena, how to build champions for survivability, and how to build champions for Clan Boss. So let's jump into it. Alright guys, the champion that we're going to be using as our baseline today is Krutaksa. I don't really use her anywhere, so I was able to just strip her gear. That way we can go over several ways to build champions. I am not recommending Krutaksa to build in any of these ways. It's simply just going to show you how you can use the Hell Hades tool to build a champion. So first off, what you want to do is identify where you're going to be using this champion. Um, I want to start with Clan Boss just because that's more specific and mostly where people are going to be using the Hell Hades tool is trying to build a champion for Clan Boss. Um, so first off, you identify the comp that you're running and find the speed that you need for your DPS, and then you go from there. So we're going to jump into the Hell Hades tool. So if you're new to the Hell Hades tool, once you download it, once you download the optimizer, it's gonna pull this up, and then you just you upload the website, and then it's gonna load it to your website, and then this is gonna be your home page. So to find the champions that you want, you go into champions, and then it'll pull up all. It'll start with your highest ranked, and that's including the I cannot think right now. That's including the blessings. So Lydia being a 3-star legendary, she definitely my number one, and then it just goes from there. So what we need is we need Krutaksa, like I said. All right, and we're gonna you just click on her, and then you click on Optimize Artifact, and there's two things that pull up. You have an improved brute force optimizer, or you have the GPU optimizer. As you can see here, it's telling you what you need for a GPU optimizer, and it can be, they don't have to be the best graphic card in the world, as long as they are newer than 2015 and OpenCL 2.0 or 3.0 card. Um, you'll be able to use this. If not, it's okay. You got the brute force optimizer, and it's okay. It works. It's not going to be as good as the GPU optimizer, but it'll work. I'll start with this, and then I will show you the other one. So let's go into. We're going to go into start. Uh, no, I'm sorry. We're going to go into configure, and if you want to steal gear off of people, you just leave that check mark. I just slide this down to 0. That way I can find the best possible build for Krutaksa. I don't recommend doing this, but I will show you that in a little bit. And then you go to stats. So this is what it's going to look like if you don't have the GPU optimizer. So being a clan boss build, I'm not saying this is a speed that you need for your clan boss, but let's say you need 224. What I typically recommend is going two or three speeds lower than what you need. So we need 224. So I'm gonna go 221, and then the Mac 224. And I will get to why in a second. And if it's a unkillable, you don't need to worry about health or defense. You just worry about damage. So you want 100% crit rate. And soft cap means anything after this value, it brings no more value to your build. So, for example, if you want 220 accuracy, which is what you need for Ultra Nightmare Clan Boss, but you're only going to use it for Ultra Nightmare Clan Boss, you don't need like 300 accuracy. So you could just do like 240 and 220. So it's going to find a minimum of 220 accuracy, and it's going to find, and once it hits 240, it's going to say, okay, anything past this, we don't need. And now since we want damage, we need to see how this champion scales on damage, and it's going to be attack. So we're going to go in here, and we're going to go with attack. And depending on how good your gear is, you can slide your attack all the way to 16, and you can slide your crit damage all the way to 16. And then if you have good gear, you can go into sets, and you can say, okay, I want cruel, cruel, and you want 2 sets. And all you got to do is go into optimize, and it's telling you what you need. Require 2 cruel sets. Attack has a weight of 16. Speed should be anywhere between 221 and 224. Crit rate should be a minimum of 100, and past 100 has no value. Crit damage has a weight of 16, and accuracy should have a minimum of 220, and past 240 has no value. And then you just hit start, and you let it find its build. I don't think it's gonna find a build, but we'll let it run and we'll see. I might have to take the gear or the sets off. But yeah, we'll see what it finds here in about 10 seconds. And this is what you have to do. Start with the baseline, right? Start with what you want. And then if it doesn't find what you want, start taking things off little by little. Okay, so it didn't find what we wanted. Okay, so we're gonna clear, and let's say I want a 2, but I can deal with 1. You go in here, and you hit start. Okay, now it's finding builds. And see, it's finding crazy amount of accuracy, but that's probably just what it's finding. It's gonna find the most attack and most crit damage, and everything else is just a bonus. So just for the sake of the video, so we don't end up with a really long video, it'll stop, and let's say this is the best build. You just click view, and it'll show you the gear that you're stealing. Again, if you don't want to steal gear, you just come into configure, and you do include equipped artifact, and then you can just clear and start again. And it just pause it here. You don't need to pause it. If you're doing this for real, let it run through, and then go from there. But let's say it ran through. This is the final build. So you click on it, and it's telling you this is the gear to equip. Hitting equipped will not equip your gear on your actual account. So you'll have to go back and find this piece of with reflect gear, this piece of curl, this piece of curl, this piece of divine speed, this piece of divine speed, and you'll have to go through and you'll have to filter it all out. It's unfortunate, but that's how it is. So you got to go through and find all that and equip it. So the reason I leave my speed 2 to 3 below what I actually want is because, as you'll see here, this one's not glyphs, this one's not glyph, this one's not glyph. So that's 3 speed that you can find right there. And then plus this one, that's 4 speed. So really, you could go with 220 speed and still get up to the 224 speed that you need, and you'll get to what you need. So that's how I do climb boss. If you're not rocking unkillable, it becomes a little bit more difficult because then you have to sacrifice damage for survivability. You definitely want like a minimum of a 2500, 2600 defense with a decent amount of HP and then everything else. So that's how you build clan boss without the GPU. Um, let's go start and let's go GPU optimizer. So we know we're building clan boss. So what I want is I want damage mode, because I know what I need for my speed. I don't need survivability. All I need is my speed, my accuracy, and the damage. So we're gonna go with this, and you hit configure, and the same thing. I don't want to steal any gear. I want it all the way down to 0. It's already gonna find 100% crit rate, and speed. I want to 21 through to 24. And then you can leave everything else blank. And then sets, we're going to go cruel. And we'll just do one set, and you hit optimize, and you hit start. Now, the reason the GPU optimizer is better is because it's actually going to find the best damage build possible, not just with attack, but also with the set. So technically, you really don't even have to include this because it's gonna find the best build possible. So let's do this and let's see what happens. So, okay, it's still finding a cool build. So for example, let's say I wanted to include equipped artifact regardless of lock status and include equipped artifact on lock champion. So we're going to go to optimizer and we're going to start, and I'm going to show you. It's going to show me the best possible build. And it's not working. Hold on. Oh, because I didn't click that one. My bad, guys. My bad. Alright, here we go. It's going to find a much better build now. There we go. Okay, so it found one cool with perception. So not a bad build, not a bad build. It's valuing the crit damage and the attack over a savage set. So this one you got a 2 cool set, 2 cool set, a 2 cool set, a 2 cool set. So it's valuing the actual crit damage and the attack over something like I said, like a savage set. But the reason I don't keep these, you can keep this top one clicked on if you don't mind stealing gear from people that you don't really care about. But once you start using this tool a lot, let me show you. You'll start building champions and you'll lock them. And when you lock them on the Hell Hades tool, that means when it finds a build, it will not steal any gear off of Lydia or Longbeard or anybody else that I have locked. So when you go into build, whoever you're wanting to build, but for example, ours is Kutaxa, you don't want it to steal gear off of somebody you've already spent a lot of time and silver and energy on getting them built the way that you would like them. So I keep those bottom two clicked off. But if you don't mind stealing gear off of random people that you don't have locked, then you can do that. And another thing too is if you build something, it's going to be done here in a second. If you build something and you say, oh crap, I don't like that it stole this piece of gear from Vlad. You can actually lock Vlad or whatever champion it is that you don't want to steal gear from. From here, you just hit lock, and then you hit back, you hit clear, and then you hit start again on the optimizer. I don't want Vlad locked because he's not really an instinctual build for me. It doesn't really matter. So I'm going to leave him unlocked. But if you wanted to, you could just lock him, clear it, and hit start again. So now that we've got Clan Boss out of the way, let's jump into, let's say, survivability stats or building a tank. So I'm going to go back to start, and we're going to use improved brute force optimizer. And so typically what you want is when you're building a tank, and again, Kutaxa is not a tank. I'm not saying build Kutaxa like this. I'm just saying if you had a person that you wanted to build, this is typically how I do it. So you got to find the speed that you want. Typically, I normally run all of my champions above 200 speed, so I'm going to do 200 on minimum speed. And if it's just normal, everyday dungeons and whatnot, resistance doesn't really matter unless you're building a solo champion, and in which case you would just do like 240 resistance, and that should resist most of the dungeons except for like the higher dungeon I think you need like 265 or something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head, but you just type that in, and then same thing we did with Clan Boss on attack and crit damage, you would do the same for health and defense. So we're telling the tool right now, we want you to focus on health and we want you to focus on defense. And it's going to find a minimum of 265 resistance with 200 speed. And let's hit start. And again, if you want, you can put a set in here. If you want regeneration set or immortal set or whatever you want, you can put that in here. But for the sake of the video, I'm just going to find it like it is. And you hit start. And it's going to start building. It's going to start building the build. So one way that you can really tell if it's doing a good build, you see this EHP, that's your total survivability stats. So as you see there, we're going to do 160,000 plus the 52,000. So it can be about 170, so 220, 230,000. That's not a bad build. And that's how you determine how well they're going to survive a hit. So you'd go through here and you would say, okay, this is all the gear that I have to find. You go through and you equip them and you go on about your merry way. Again, if you don't want to include equipped artifacts, you just take that off, hit clear and hit start. And it's going to find something without stealing gear from anybody. So we don't have to wait 20 seconds. I'm just going to pause it. You just go through and you find all of this gear and you just equipped it. So now let's go to the GPU optimizer. Now since we're doing a survival mode, we're going to hit survivability and we're going to go into stats. And again, I run 200 on most of all of my champions. I want 265 resistance and we just want it to be survivability. So we're going to hit start and it's going to take a minute. And this is the reason why the GPU optimizer is better. It actually filters through your gear better. I'm not sure why that is, but it just is. See, as you can tell here, you've already got 220,000 added EHP on top of the 52,000, as opposed to the brute force. It was only giving you like 150, 160, and then plus your your normal EHP. So this is obviously the best way to go if you have a GPU graphics card. If not, it's okay. It's still going to find builds that will work. It's just not going to be as good. So we're going to hit stop for the sake of the video. And as you can see here, it's finding stone skin and it's stealing all of this gear. And let's say I don't want to steal gear. You take that off, you hit start, and it's doing about 160, 170. So it's not too bad. Yeah, let's see. So that's what it's telling us to put on. And typically what I do, this is just a little side note. You go through here and you upgrade any gear that could possibly roll into something that you want. For example, if this HP percent chest piece was only rolled to level 4 or level 8, and you could possibly get more resist out of this build, I would roll this to 12. I would come back in here, you hit live refresh, you let it refresh, it'll say refresh account information, you hit clear and then you hit start again, and then it will find the next best build. And that's how you do survivability stats. It's pretty simple. I know a lot of people have troubles with this tool, and I really hope this video helped you guys understand the tool, understand how to work around. I just want to show you guys, for example, let's say I give, let's go to start and let's go to improved. And let's say I give it something unrealistic that it can't build. I want 300 speed with 300 resist, and I want that, and then I want 100 crit rate with 200 crit damage. And you hit start and it tells you, okay, yeah, you can't build. So typically what I do is I go back in and I say, okay, what's the first stat that I could get rid of? So let's say I'm trying to build a champion for Hydra and I want a good amount of HP and a good amount of defense with speed. Let's make the speed a little bit more realistic. Let's do 225 and let's just see. Okay, so it is finding builds, which that's not bad. Um, but let's make it a little bit harder. Um, let's do 300 accuracy. And you hit start, right? And it might find a build. I don't know. My gear is not bad, but it's not great. So I'm just going to pause it and say it doesn't find the build. So then you come in here and like I said, you figure out what you can get rid of. Okay, let's get rid of crit damage, saying that it needs a minimum of 200. And let's just slide the slider bar up to like 8 or so. Now we're going to say, okay, this is not as important as HP and defense, but I still want as much crit damage as possible with the resist and accuracy and everything else that I say I need. And then you hit start. And then it goes through and it says, okay, here's your build. And then you say, okay, that's not bad, I like it. Or you can continue to optimize it. You hit clear and you hit stats and you just improve it. You say, okay, maybe I want a little bit more crit damage. You let it find it. And so let's say you're finding a minimum of 167 crit damage. And I want a minimum of 165 the other way around. You hit clear, you hit start, and now it's going to find anything with 165 or better. And it should find those other builds. I know sometimes the Hell Hades tool is a little bit weird. Um, Sometimes it'll say it can find a build, and then as soon as you type in um, the exact builds that you were just seeing, like this, for example, it's not finding it. It's kind of weird. Um, it is very weird. See, we were just seeing 167. Let's take 165 off, and let's hit start again. I don't know why this happens, but it happens. So as you can see there, it's finding 167. I don't know why that is. But yeah, so you just go through and you just edit it one thing at a time until you find the build that you like the best. And then let's just do an overall build. Let's say you're early game and you're trying to build this champion for everywhere in the game, right? Mostly Doom Tower, or not Doom Tower, dungeons, and maybe like a little bit of arena. So what you're gonna do is let's reset this. Improved. Okay, configure. Again, I don't want to steal any gear, so we're gonna go into stats, right? Then you want to find, again, I want 200 speed, and every dungeon is times 10 of the level for the accuracy. So if you're trying to tackle level 20 dungeon, you just need a minimum of 200. Resist really doesn't come into play on dungeons. You're not really building a champion to resist it unless you're building a solo champion. But if you're a beginner, you're not building a solo champion. So now we want an equal amount of HP, attack, defense, crit rate, crit damage, all that. So for one, we want a minimum of 100% crit rate. And then let's just go in here and let's make 8. 8. Come on now. 8. And then 8. And let's hit start and let's see what it does. So it's finding pretty good builds. It's definitely focusing more on attack. So I don't really like that. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to slide the attack bar back to, let's say, 5. We're going to go through and we're going to hit start again. Okay, now it's finding less attack, and it's finding more HP and defense. So I'm kind of liking how this is playing out. Um, I wish it had 2,500 more defense. So I'm going to go through clear. I'm going to go to stats. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take this off. And I'm going to set it 2,500. Anything above 2,500, we're doing good on defense. So now it's going to find HP, attack, and crit damage, and a minimum of 200 accuracy. And we're just going to stop it right there. We're going to go through and say, okay, we like that build. We're going to equip it. And all of my gear is level 8 or more, so I don't really need to set it to level 0. But yeah, this is a pretty solid build, so I would go through and I would equip all of this and then move on about my day. So another thing that this optimizer has, unfortunately, you have to pay for it to see the full details of the team. But let's go through and let's just do Spider 20, and we're gonna do improved brute force. I don't want to limit people. The GPU optimizer is obviously better, but let's just do improved brute force, and you hit suggest team. This is going to suggest teams for your account that has the champions that you have, and it's going to give you the best duration, the best success rate if you do it right. So I want 100% success rate. I want at least 40 battles, and I don't care how long it's been, because this dungeon don't really get changed that often. So we're gonna do fastest anytime, and then I want it to do 6-star ascended only champion, meaning it's not gonna suggest a team that I have a level 30 guy. Um, I wanted to suggest teams that only have level 60s on my account. So here we go. And it's saying with this team, I can do 100% success rate. It's done 158 battles at 12 seconds duration. That's the average. And this is the team. So you can hit view variation. And now, if you want to view the full details, you have to pay for the upgraded version of the Hell Hades tool. It can be the very minimum one, which is like $5 a month or $6 a month. I don't remember exactly how much it is. And then you hit view full details, and it will actually show you what sets are running, what speed, what HP, all that stuff. And it actually even furthermore shows what they're starting off with, what they're using, and how they can go from there. And it shows the masteries and all of that. So if you like this team, you can hit copy to optimizer, and it's going to build the team for you. Unfortunately, all it does is it inputs the speed. So typically what I like to do is let's go in here, let's go to suggest team, 100% crit rate. Whoa. Let's do 40 battles, 6-star ascended. So typically what I like to do, click view full details, and I take a picture of this page, and I take a picture of this. That way when you copy the optimizer, for example, let's do Royal Guard. So he's got 250 crit damage with 278 accuracy with a decent amount of attack and 200 speed. So when you hit copy to optimizer, we're going to see the leader here is Royal Guard. See, it does the 200 speed, and it does the minimum accuracy. So he also had 250 crit damage, 100% crit rate, and we'll just do a decent amount of attack. And then we'll go to sets, and we'll go to savage, because that's what he had. And I only wanted to build him just for the sake of the video, but you could go through and do the rest like that. And options, we're going to do don't steal any gear and level 8. So we're going to hit start, and it's gonna build. Unfortunately, this is gonna take a little while longer. This normally takes about 5 to 10 minutes to build um, an entire team, and then you'll have to. Sometimes it won't find the build, so you have to go through and adjust the stats and say, okay, it didn't find this. Let's see if it can find it like this, and you keep rebuilding it and rebuilding it and rebuilding it until you get a team that works. So yeah, like this, for example, it didn't work. It didn't build it with Savage, I'm assuming. So I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna go to sets. I'm gonna reset that, hit optimize, hit start, and it's gonna rebuild it. Um, and then yeah, like I said, you just gotta slowly but surely just edit one thing at a time until you get the build that you need. Um, that's how you use the optimizer. It's fairly easy. I know it looked confusing all at once, but it definitely a game changer, and it helps you build your champions. Um, for example, I know, so it didn't find a build again. That's okay. I'm not going to go through and do that. For example, as on my gear cleansing video, you can filter your gear out by the rating, and it can help you do a gear cleanse. It can help you find champions on your account if you don't know that you have somebody. Let's say, for example, I don't know if I have, man, let's just do War Maiden. Okay, and then it shows you all the copies that you have in War Maiden. It's a cool little handy deal with that. That doesn't necessarily matter, but it does is if you're trying to, uh, let's say if you're trying to figure out, I know on tournaments they have, let's say night revs only on Spider. You can go in night revs and you can build specific champions that you want for Spider. Um, but yeah, that's it. I hope this clears up a lot of oh, I hope this clears up a lot of confusion about this tool and helps you guys build your champions. Like I said, if you have the DPU optimizer, definitely 100% use it. It's going to be your best bet. Um, I don't really ever use quick mode. I use either damage or survival mode. Balance mode is more like the improved brute force optimizer. It gives you this, but it's still gonna find better build just because it's using your graphics card. Um, and again, I don't ever click these two unless you just absolutely need to build this champion like this. Then you can click that. But otherwise, I keep it on just include equipped artifact and go from there. You can go through and you can do this. Let's say you don't have masteries on somebody yet, but you know you're going to. Like let's say I know for sure I'm going to go for flawless execution. I can click on that and then you can go. You can build your build that way, and it will help you. Or Eagle Eye, same thing. Um, but yeah, you can go through that. You can go through your glyphs. I mean, you can pretty much go through your entire account on this tool, and it's gonna find the best builds possible for you. But yeah, this is Resurrected Mods, and I hope this helped you guys, and I will see you on the next one.
I try to pray for you, even when there's nothing, you always make up something. You know I try to pray for you, even when we're touching, you always make a fussing. Okay, I'm pushing, don't test my patience. I'm trying to pace it. You kept me waiting. I try to pray for you.